जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, thank you for joining, and we are continuing our discussion on chapter 1, verse number 6. So, Duryodhana is currently describing the warriors of the opposite side, that is the Pandavas, to Acharya Drona. So he gives some names in verse number 4, 5 and 6. So let's read the Sanskrit. Yudhamanyuscha Vikranta Uttamajauscha Viryavan Saubhadra Dropadeyascha Sarva Eva Maharatha. Sarva Eva Maharatha. So all these fighters which is, or the warriors which he is going to name, he says that all of them are Maharathas, great chariot fighters. So let's read the translation. There are the mighty Yudhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamauja, the son of Subhadra and the son of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters. So previously he gave other names, and basically he is trying to compare those warriors to Arjuna and Bhima. But this shows the state of mind of Duryodhana. His mental state is completely disturbed before the beginning of the war. He is scared and is fully upset. Scared of what? Scared of the huge army that has been set up by Drishtadyumna. He is their commander in chief. And he is also very upset because many of the kings were supposed to join the Pandavas, Kauravas side, but somehow they joined Pandavas side. So he is upset about that. So in this verse also, Srila Prabhupada has not given the purport, but let's discuss few points that will help us to understand the Mahabharata war, or the war in the Kurukshetra battlefield. So first of all, not all the kings participated in the war, right? So there were some neutral parties. So let's see who were those neutral parties. So the kingdom of Bhojakata, with its king Rukmi, and Vidura, the ex-prime minister of Hastinapur, and the younger brother of Dhritarashtra, and Lord Balram, he is the elder brother of Lord Krishna, were only neutral in this war, right? So the others, they all joined either of the parties, either Pandavas or Kauravas. Rukmi wanted to join the war, but Arjuna refused. He didn't allow him to join the war because he had lost to Krishna during Rukmini's Swayamvar, and yet he boasted about his war strength and armies. So Arjuna rejected because of that, whereas Duryodhana didn't want Arjuna's reject. So that's why he didn't participate. And the other personality was Vidura. So Vidura was, he was against the war. So he was advising Duryodhana not to go to the battlefield because he knew that the Pandavas would destroy them. So Vidura was then insulted by Duryodhana, and he left Hastinapur before the war began, and he went for a pilgrimage. So Bhagavatam describes, the beginning canto of Bhagavatam describes what happens after the Vidura. Basically, he returns back from the pilgrimage. So we can study that in Bhagavatam. The powerful Balram, or Lord Balram, who was elder brother of Krishna, he also didn't participate. He refused to fight the Kurukshetra war because both Bhima and Duryodhana, he actually coached both of them in Gada Yuddha. Gada is mace. So he trained both of them, and he didn't want to take either side. But his younger brother, Lord Krishna, he took the side of the Pandavas. So there are some statistics given in Mahabharata Adi Parva about the Akshohini. Akshohini is the term which is used to describe the size of the army. So Pandavas had 7 Akshohinis and Kauravas army was bigger, that was 11 Akshohinis. So in one Akshohini there are 21,870 chariots, similarly 21,870 elephants, 65,610 horses, and 109,350 foot soldiers. So that was one division. So that is one Akshohini. So similarly, there were 7 Akshohinis in Pandava side and 11 Akshohinis in Kaurava side. And then the chief or the commander-in-chief from the Pandava side for all the 18 days were Drishtadumna. Whereas the Kaurava side, we see that it was started by Bhishma, then Drona, then Karna and Shalya. And Duryodhan was not really a commander, but on the other side also we can see that Ashwatthama was commander for one night actually. Duryodhana appointed him as a commander for one night, and he killed the sons of Pandavas and others in the night during their sleep. So these are the commander-in-chief. Then the definition of Maharathis is given. So here in the verse, if we see that because Duryodhana is scared, he is calling all these fighters as Maharathis. But actually Maharathis are very few, and they are named here. Maharathis are these people who can fight with 60,000 warriors at a time. So these are like from the Pandava side there was only one Maharathi, which was Arjuna, and the Kauravas had many Maharathis, which is Bhishma, Drona, Karna and Ashwatthama. And then there were Atirathis who can fight with 10,000 warriors, and they were Yudhishthir, Bhima, Drishtadumna, Ghatotkacha, Satyaki and Yuyutsu. They are all from the Pandava side. They were all Atirathis. Whereas in the Kaurava side, it is Shalya, Somadatta, Bhurishrava, Bhagadatta, Jayadratha and Kritavarma. So they were the Atirathis. And then these Akshohinis can be further divided into, different types of divisions. So you can read all this when you have time. And basically it's very well planned. If you see, everything is well planned. The military arrangements and everything were done in such a nice way that the fighting goes on very, very fiercely. And there were some set of rules to fight, and those set of rules were decided. This is called as rules of engagement, and they were decided before the war. So this was a dharma yuddha or a holy war, and this doesn't happen like randomly, like whatever is going on today. This is a different kind of war. So there were some rules of ethical conduct that was decided before the war, that we are going to fight the war in this way. So the two supreme commanders met and they framed the rules. There are rules of ethical conduct for the dharma yuddha, for the war. So those rules are described as follows. So it's very interesting, that's why I put it here. So we must know that how the wars used to happen in those days. So fighting must begin no earlier than sunrise and end exactly at the sunset. At the end of the day, each party can visit one another's camp. So begin at sunrise, end at sunset. No fighting in the night, in the dark. No stealth mode. Now they are fighting in the stealth mode. Yeah. So this is a different kind of fight. So these were all, we have to remember that these are all Kshatriyas, and fighting for them is like a sporting event. And one more thing, even if they were not afraid of death. They were not afraid of death because they knew that if they die in the battlefield, then they are going to go to Swargaloka. Like they are going to go to Swargaloka to enjoy further. So they were very enthusiastic in fighting. And if they win, then they win the earthly kingdoms. But if they lose and if they die, then they go to heavenly planets and enjoy there. So that's a spirit with which they used to fight. So in Dharma Yuddha, the animal must be equipped. So without person being equipped, they will not fight, and they must be alert, and they must be equal. So like we watch some television serial, and in that serial we must have observed that before the arrows or something is released, they will say, savdhan. The savdhan means be aware. I'm just releasing the arrow, or I'm going to fight with you with the mace or whatever equipment they are going to fight with. So they will make the other parties alert. So the other rules are no more than one warrior may attack a single warrior. Means 1-to-1 fight. 2 warriors may duel or engage in prolonged personal combat only if they carry the same weapons and they are on the same type of mount, means on either on the foot or on the horses or on the elephant or on a chariot. So it has to be equal, as we saw, that equal, alert and equipped. No warrior may kill or injure a warrior who has surrendered. So somebody has surrendered means that's it. You don't fight with that person anymore. One who has surrendered becomes a prisoner of war and will then be subject to the protection of the prisoner of war. So there were rules for the prisoner of war. They were treated after being captured, treated very nicely. Respect was given to them. It's not like they were ill-treated. No warriors may kill or injure an unarmed warrior, especially one who is helping the wounded. They will not kill them. No warrior may kill or injure an unconscious warrior. So that person has to be alert, awake, alert. No warrior may kill or injure a person or an animal not taking part in the war. So there were animals used, like riding on a horse, riding on a chariot, on the elephant or any other animals. And they will not shoot those animals, those poor animals, because they are just participating in they are not a part of that war. It is man-to-man fight. No warrior may kill or injure a warrior whose back is turned away. So they will not attack from the behind. No warrior may attack a woman. No warrior may strike an animal not considered a direct threat. So if an animal becomes mad, then they can probably shoot or kill that animal. But otherwise they will not kill the animal or strike the animal. The rules specific to each weapon must be followed. So each weapon had rules. For example, it is prohibited to strike below the waist in a mace warfare basically. So in Gada Yuddha, you cannot hit below the waist. It should be above the waist. So these are the rules, and it's very interesting to see all those rules. Nowadays, nobody follow in this the war that happens. There is no such rules. In fact, there is no rules. In what we are reading here, warriors may not engage in any unfair warfare. So it has to be a fair chance, has to be given. Let's say they are fighting and the weapon has dropped. So there was a time given to pick up the weapons. So then there is a fair chance. So it was like a sporting event. Now, most of these rules are broken in the course of the war after the fall of Bhishma. So these rules were there and were set by Bhishma. He was a commander-in-chief, and Drishtadyumna. But after the fall of Bhishma, because of excessive attachment and want to win, Duryodhana and his party, they started breaking the rules. For example, on the 2nd and the 6th rule, which were violated on the 13th day when Abhimanyu was slain. So Abhimanyu was one person, and he was slain by so many warriors. He was hit simultaneously by multiple warriors. He was cornered, kind of. So this is these are the rules which was given. Now we are going to discuss the personalities which Duryodhana has mentioned in this verse. So the first two personalities is Yudhamanyu and Uttamaja. So who are they? So everyone knows Draupadi and Drishtadyumna were daughters and son of Drupad, the king of Panchal. Hmm? So that's why Draupadi was sometimes called as Panchali, daughter of king of Panchal. Hmm? But Draupad also had two more sons, and they were Yudhamanyu and Uttamajas. Yudhamanyu and Uttamaja are mentioned by Duryodhan when he mentions some of 20 mighty and important warriors which are taking part in the war of Pandava side. So Duryodhan lists about 20 warriors over here, and this Yudhamanyu and Uttamaja are also mentioned here. Yudhamanyu and Uttamaja took part as a bodyguard of Arjuna. So when Arjuna was fighting, his left and right side has to be protected. So initially Yudhamanyu was placed as the guard of the left wheel of Arjuna's chariot, and Uttamaja was given the duty of guarding the right wheel of the chariot. So they were guarding Arjuna from both the sides. But later both were appointed to protect the rear side of the Arjuna's chariot, because later on there was no rules. Earlier there were rules, but once the rules were broken, then the warriors can attack from any side. So that's why they were protecting Arjuna, who was the most important warrior, from the backside. In the Kurukshetra war, the brothers fought with Duryodhan, Drona, Kritavarma, Karna, Kripacharya, etc. And basically they fought with many, many warriors. At the end of the war, when Duryodhan was hiding in the lake, Pandavas sent Yudhamanyu and Uttamaja to search him. But they returned empty-handed because he was hiding in the lake. Enraged Duryodhana then asked Ashwathama to take revenge of Dronacharya's death, as well as the way Dronacharya was injured, or Duryodhana was injured, sorry. So Ashwathama, who is a partial incarnation of Lord Shiva, became as angry and powerful as Lord Shiva when he became very angry. So he became very angry like Lord Shiva. Then Ashwathama killed many warriors in the dark of the night when they were sleeping actually. Amongst them were Yudhamanyu and Uttamaja. So these are the two personalities. So some information about them. I got it from Mahabharata. And then this next personalities were the sons of Draupadi. So they were the sons of the Pandavas. So they are called as Upa Pandavas, or 5 sons of Pandavas. So Draupadi became mother of 5 sons, 1 son each from the Pandava brothers. Right? So they are known as Upa Pandavas. Their names were Prativindya from Yudhishthir, Suta Soma from Bhima, Shruta Karma from Arjuna, and Satanaika from Nakula, and Shruta Sena from Sahadev. So these were the 5 sons of Draupadi, and they were all killed in the night on the 18th night by Ashwathama when they were sleeping. And then finally he talks about Abhimanyu. So most of us have heard about Abhimanyu. He was son of Subhadra. He was a very great fighter, and he was very nicely trained by Lord Krishna himself. So let's read about him. Abhimanyu was a very important warrior in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He was born to Arjuna and Subhadra and was a nephew of Lord Krishna. At the time of his tragic death at a tender age in the battle of Kurukshetra, he was married to Princess Uttara of the Matsya kingdom, so Virata. So earlier in the 4th verse, Virata has been mentioned. So that's the same Virata. And he married the daughter of Virata. Her name was Uttara. And then after the war, during the war, Uttara was pregnant. So after the war, she gave back birth to a son named Parikshit, Maharaj Parikshit. So Maharaj Parikshit then became the king of the world after Yudhishthir. And then towards the end of his life, Maharaj Parikshit was given a curse that he would die in 7 days. So he took shelter of Sukadev Goswami and he heard Bhagavatam for 7 days. And then he left the body like that. And before he heard Bhagavatam, he gave the kingdom to his son Janmejaya. And then Janmejaya actually heard Mahabharat from Vaishampayana Rishi. So this is what we studied earlier. I'm just connecting those dots. So let's get back to this verse. And like the Pandavas, Abhimanyu was trained in all forms of warfare by Lord Krishna himself and even Arjuna. So he was an expert warrior. He was trained very nicely. He was later trained by Pradyumna, the son of Krishna. He had learned the art of breaking into the Chakravyuh. So Chakravyuh is a formation of army, and it looks something like this. It's like circles. And one can get in, but you have to break all those walls to get in. And it begins from outside, and then you have to keep on going like this toward the center with, the kings and all the important personalities are in the center. So Abhimanyu, he knew how to get in. And let's see the history of how he knew to get in. So he learned the art of breaking into the Chakravyuh. He knew how to get into the Chakravyuh when he was in his mother Subhadra's womb. So he heard this, that how to get, when Subhadra was pregnant with Abhimanyu, and Arjuna was describing how to get into Chakravyuh. So he heard that. But while how to get out, Arjuna was describing at that time, Subhadra was actually sleeping. So he didn't hear that part. So he didn't know how to get out. However, he did not hear the entire information. That is how to get out of the battle formation, the Chakravyuh. So he could get in, but he couldn't get out. So this was a formation which was done by Acharya Drona on the 13th day. So why the question can come that the Supreme Lord was present in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, then why didn't he protect Abhimanyu? So this is answered here. Why Lord Krishna could not save Abhimanyu? Krishna could, but he did not. And here it is, the reason is given, that Abhimanyu was a reincarnation of Varshas, the son of moon god. So he was the son of moon god. He was incarnation of that. And when the moon god agreed to give his son or to be incarnated on the earth by the Devas, he put a condition that his son would only stay on the earth for 16 years. Because he could not bear the separation of his son more than 16 years. So that's why Abhimanyu's lifespan was 16 years. And in this 16th year, he is fighting this battle. And he will die in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So that is how Lord has planned his departure from this material world. So Abhimanyu's death was inevitable, but also necessary. His death was necessary. Why? Because Krishna needed Arjuna to be full of fire for vengeance to fight the Kauravas. So Krishna wanted Arjuna to fight fiercely, and that would happen when his son would be mercilessly killed by this group of warriors. So after this event, everything changed. Arjuna became very furious. Now when Abhimanyu was entering the Chakravyuh, what happened when Abhimanyu entered the Chakravyuh? So then as soon as he entered, he could break in and enter. Then the outer section, so let's say he's entering from here, from this part. So as he is entering, they close this loop. So in the outer section, what happened? Jayadratha was standing. And he didn't allow any of the other Pandavas to get in. And Abhimanyu could get in straight like this. He could pierce through this Chakravyuh and he went right into the center. And that's where he was killed. Right? So as Abhimanyu was entering, this whole loop was closed. And it was over there, Jayadratha was standing. So Jayadratha, the ruler of the Sindh, blocked the entry so that no other Pandavas could enter the formation. He was actually earlier humiliated by Pandavas, because he went after Draupadi, so they caught hold of him, and he was actually kidnapping Draupadi, and they caught hold of him, and then they really insulted him. He performed severe penance and so after that he performed severe penance. He sought Lord Shiva's boon, due to which he could stall any army single-handed without the Arjuna and Krishna. So he asked for a boon that he want to stall the Pandavas, but Lord Shiva said that you can do it except for Lord Krishna and Arjuna, because they are Nar Narayan, so they cannot be stopped. So that's why Abhimanyu went inside the Chakravyuh and he was trapped there and he couldn't get out. So Abhimanyu caused a great destruction to the Kaurava army before sacrificing himself. So he fought fearlessly, and with all of them simultaneously. He fought for a very long time. He defeated Drona, Kripa. See the names, such big warriors, and he defeated all these great warriors. He defeated Drona, Kripa, Ashwatthama, Duryodhan, Salya, Dusashan, Bhurishrava. He also killed Duryodhana's son Lakshmana, Salya's son Ruk Maratha, Kritavarma's son Matrikavata, and many more. So before dying, he made a huge destruction to the Kaurava side. Now only Karna could overpower Abhimanyu. So there only one personality could actually overpower him. However, he could do so by depriving the young warrior of his weapons, the bows, the arrows. And so he destroyed his weapons, and that's how he could actually control Abhimanyu. And then in the end, Abhimanyu was killed brutally. So before dying, what he did, he took the chariot wheel on his hand. So that's why I put a picture in the beginning. If you see the picture of Abhimanyu holding a chariot, so all his weapons were destroyed, but with this chariot wheel he still fought, and then everybody attacked him from all the sides. He was one person, but all these great warriors, they all shot arrows and they pierced with the sword, and he was brutally killed in the center of Chakravyuh. So as he was killed at the end of Abhimanyu's death, what happened? Enraged by his son's brutal death, because Arjuna came to know later that he was killed like this, in such a bad way, Arjuna killed Jayadratha with his heavenly arrows. As planned, Lord Krishna knew that Abhimanyu's death would act as a turning point in the war, and it would be in the Pandavas' favor. So up until Abhimanyu's death, the Pandavas did not fight with full strength. And Krishna wanted that, So also by killing Abhimanyu, the Kauravas committed a major breach in the ethics and codes of the Mahabharata war. So whatever rules of engagements that were decided earlier, they were all kind of broken. Majority of them were broken. And that, really made Arjuna, fierce. And from that point onwards, Arjuna started fighting like anything. So with this, we'll stop here, and then we'll continue discussion on the next session. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Gaur Premanande Haribol.